Okay, just as we're going to call this a review because there are really only a couple slides that we missed or we haven't gone through already. Now, as you answer questions, please speak loudly so the remote students can hear and so I can hear. It'll be helpful. But we're going to go through these slides very, very quickly. I want quick answers. You guys should know this information already. You've already taken the quiz. You've already gotten feedback on the quiz. I think that quiz, correct me if I'm wrong, has all of the answers, tells you not only what the answer is at the end, but why. Am I right?
Yeah.
Okay. So let's go through this. Command prompt. What do we use command prompt for? Raise them. Yes.
Ping another computer, add routes.
In general, yes, we ping them. We add routes. What do we use them for? To what?
Run commands.
To run commands. It's a lot faster than a graphical interface trying to troubleshoot. We use the command prompt primarily to troubleshoot network connections in this regard. Okay, so where did the command prompt come from? What operating system? Austin?
MS-DOS.
MS-DOS. Microsoft DOS, which was stolen, actually purchased from another company. How do you get to the command prompt? Austin?
Go into your computer search bar and type in CMD.
CMD, that's one way. Anybody know another way to do it? Yes?
Windows key R command.
Windows key R command. Really?
The CMD.
Then CMD. Okay, Windows key R for run, and then type CMD. Or, if you're using it a lot as a network IT professional, you will. Once you do the search and you see the listing before you click on it, right-click on it, pin to taskbar. And then you can just single-click down at the bottom, or you can put it on your desktop and double-click. Lots of different ways of doing it. How would I get back, given that it says C:\users /LAN PROCLES, how would I get LAM PROCLES, how would I get back to just a C prompt? So basically the root of that hard drive, or that volume. Anybody know? Not something we talked about, yes? CD /. Okay? How do you find out other commands or other switches that go along with commands? Yes?
Like CD, are we just talking about in general?
Just in general.
You put space, question mark?
Whatever the command is, space question mark. And that gives you a list of all the switches. The syntax, what do I mean by syntax? Syntax, Taylor? The correct abbreviation or the correct command or the correct combination of commands. When I say check your syntax, or if I say check, do a question mark or a /question mark to check the syntax, all I'm saying is look to see what the correct order and spelling and all those kinds of things are. Okay? That's the syntax. Well, there you go. dir /question mark gives you all of the switches for the dir command. Okay, the dir command. That's just an example. It's not, you don't necessarily have to memorize that. Just know that if you're given a command like ipconfig, if I wanted to know that everything went along with ipconfig, what would I do? If I want to know all the switches that are associated with ipconfig, what would I do? Yes, I'm looking at you.
I know you are.
We just covered this.
Just now?
Yes. But I noticed that two of you were sitting there talking, so I figured I'd call you out and publicly humiliate you.
I'm pretty good at it.
So how would I find out what all the switches are for the dir command?
We use ipconfig/all.
ipconfig/all?
Yeah.
That's how I would find out every switch is associated with ipconfig? Or, even if I forgot that, I could go back to the slide that I just covered. Actually, this one. Oops. So you guys aren't seeing that. That one. And I can see that if I type a /question mark, it's going to give me every switch that's associated with ipconfig dir, everything. That's what I just covered. So pay attention, folks. Pay attention. Okay, IP config. How do we use the IP config? Quick. Somebody else quick. Austin. What's it used for?
To check the IP address.
Check IP address. What else? What do I use it for else? Yeah.
Analyze.
Analyze, yes. Analyze what? Analyze my IP configuration. So lots of different things I can do it. What are the most common things that I do with it? Yes, Jason? What? You have a question? Hold that then. What's the most common things I would do with IP config? Yes, troubleshoot, but give me some specifics. Come on. Mike?
Send your IP to a private IP address.
Not with the IP config. There's another one that I can use for that. Yes? Or do you still have a question?
No.
I can check to see what my subnet mask is, what my IP address is, and what else. And my default gateway if I just type IP config. What's another thing I do IP config? Yes? By doing what? Yes, I could. But how, what command? IP config what? Check my MAC address. Does that show up in just IP config? Or does it require the all switch? Okay, so you can look up your MAC address. What else would I use IP config for? There's a bunch of them. Actually, who was it that said change it to a static address? Michael? Not quite. But what I can do with it, though, is to release my dynamic address. Release my dynamic address. And then get another one from the DHCP server. Okay, you had a question?
I believe it's sort of like syntax, but when you do the /?, what is it called when you,
What is it called what?
what is it called when you get all those lists of commands? Like subcommands?
What are those subcommands? They're called switches. Yep. Question is, what are all those? You do a question, dir, or do some command and then hit question mark. What are all the results of that? All of those are normally switches. There are other things that are included in those, but we normally say switches. And the switch normally requires a / before the switch, or before the command. IP config all, blah, blah, blah. IP config release, which we just talked about. Ping command. What protocol does ping use? Zach?
TCP?
No.
UDP?
No. You're just throwing every protocol you can think of. Look at the slide. One more time, Zach.
ICMP.
ICMP. Ping uses ICMP. Path ping uses ICMP. Traceroute uses ICMP. They're all used to test network connectivity. Give me the key difference between path ping and traceroute. Who asked me this before class? Is that you? Key difference, Jessica. That was you. Path ping gives you more statistics and it is slower to run. Traceroute is only going to give me the number of what? Hops. Besides an ingredient in a beverage, an adult beverage, what is the definition of hops, Larry?
I do not know.
What is the definition of hops? Redeem yourself.
Not yet. Next time.
Yes?
Every time it hits a new router.
Every time it hits a new router, you have the IP address of the router and a number that's associated with it. That number is the number of that router and the number of hops between you and the destination. Okay? So ping quickly, very quickly. If I ping a device and I get reply timed out, what does that mean, Michael? You have a problem? Yeah, you got serious problems. We need to start over. So, reboot, get by today, and then we'll rebuild your computer. What?
it's gonna tell you if either there's a problem on your end or their end, but it's not, it's kind of like Traceroute, but only for one location.
Too much information. What is, if I cannot ping something, I get a request timed out. There are two possibilities. Actually, there are a number of possibilities. Does that mean, let me ask you this, I'll be more specific. Does that mean that that remote computer is not connected to a network?
Not always.
Yes,
I was gonna say it was offline maybe.
it could. Yes, that maybe allowed that answer to be correct. What else? It could be offline, but you are able to connect. Okay, what else?
It could be on a network that lacks ICMP traffic.
You are a friggin' genius. Everybody, look, just very quiet. Round of applause. Okay. It doesn't necessarily mean it's offline. Okay. However, the majority of the times, it means there's some sort of a connectivity problem between you and it. Could be you, could be cabling, could be routing, could be the result or the destination. However, it also could be an issue with a router or a firewall blocking ICMP traffic. And that packet loss could be because it's blocking all traffic. So you're not wrong, Austin, only partially correct. All right, let me ask you another couple questions. If I type ping space IP address space -T, which I do this all the time, what is that doing, Jill? What does the -T tell me?
Trace?
Nope, good guess though. How would you find out?
You do it?
All right, do it.
Okay. Things.
Give me an IP address, 4.2.2.1. Take out that second P. Ping, space, 4.2.2.1, space, -T. There. Boy, this network sucks. What's that? So, tell me now, Jill, what does the -T do for you? Come on. Hit Control C for a second. Okay, hit the up arrow. Take the T off. And the hyphen. Hit enter. Now you can't communicate. All right, what's the difference between the first time you did it with a -T and the second time you did it without the -T with a -T? Yeah,
You're
first
actually
one.
replying to the sign.
Well, besides that, it was replying on both at the same time. What's the other difference? Well, how many packets did you have in the top scroll up? A bunch, right? How many do you have below? Just 4. So what's that tell you? The -T does what? It changes it to where it continually does it. Okay? The -T is a switch that we use on a regular basis that tells it to continue to ping. Why would you use that? Yes, Austin.
Say you track down your problem, there's a link in the chain of routers, so you're not able to connect to another network or something, and you call the ISP, and you're like, I found the problem, they're like, great, we're gonna fix it. You can just kind of leave it going until they fix it.
Until you get a reply? Okay, that's possible. Or if it's a, yes, Aaron? It's not going to do it. Ping of death is not, this is not adequate for ping of death. Ping of death would be this times like 1,000 on the same host from all these different devices. Give me another example of where you would use that or why you would use that. If you have a computer under your control, yes.
Oh, crap. If you're testing a network to see if you get a connection to ping or to yourself, or so you get replies or something.
Okay, so if you're troubleshooting and you're fixing this and fixing that, you want to see what's going to work, kind of. I use it a lot when I'm rebooting a remote device and I want to know when I can connect to it again. So I'll start the ping. Yes, I'm getting replies. I remotely reboot the computer using command line or using the graphical interface. And then when it stops replying, then I know it's in the reboot process. When it starts replying again, then I know that I can connect to it again using RDP or whatever, Telnet or whatever I'm using. Okay? All right. Traceroute command, what's it used for again? Yes?
Finding the number of hops.
Number of hops. What's the definition of a hop, Gabe? What's a hop?
It's like where you get connected from a router.
It's a router. It's a connection to a router. And so if you have 10 hops, that means you've got 10 routers between you and the destination, or whatever you're... So how would I use this command? It's similar to the ping command. How would I use this command? Let's say the device at the other end, Quentin Goronsky, is an IP address of 8.8.8.8. How would I use the traceroute command? Quentin Goronsky.
Just traceroute.
Traceroute space 8.8.8.8, and it's going to tell me how many routers are in between me and the destination. That simple. What's the difference between this and path ping, Brittany?
It doesn't show the degree of packet loss.
Say it again.
It doesn't show the degree of packet loss.
It shows you the packet loss. Is that what you just said?
No.
What does it
It
say?
doesn't show you the degree of packet
Oh, traceroute does not show you the degree of packet loss. It simply says you either got there or you didn't, right? Whereas path ping does, right? Okay, good. MBT stat, what do we, wait. What's NetBIOS? Who said that? Was that like
Both at the same
gas or
Bad.
bad? Okay, it's bad. NetBIOS bad, why?
broadcast.
It broadcasts. So we don't use NetBIOS any more than we absolutely have to. Who came up with NetBIOS? Huh?
It's a horrible man.
Jill? What were you going to say?
I was going to say Microsoft.
It is Microsoft. It's
Yeah.
Microsoft. So how do we manage NetBIOS? What's a tool that we use the command line to manage and look at and all that kind of stuff? Yes?
The NBT stat.
You the man, NBT stat. Okay? NBT stat. If I want to look at my NetBIOS cache, C-A-C-H-E, on my computer, how would I do it? Yes?
Would you put MBT stat space / flush D?
I don't know. No, not flush DNS. That's used with ipconfig. How would I find out what that command is? Come on, quick.
/
/ mark. So what is the command, Austin?
Oh, I was going to say, 'cause the other day you said that if the network was well set up, it would block NetBIOS.
Not block,
Or try to disable
but
rather.
not use, yes.
Disable. Well, it's not disabled as opposed to.
It's not disabled on your computer. What's that say about you?
That's a good point.
That's a good point. Some networks you have to use NetBIOS. Okay, so the default is NetBIOS is enabled. The default is NetBIOS is enabled. But every computer in here, NetBIOS is enabled. You don't really need it in this network, but it's still enabled. Back to my earlier question, what is the real command to find out what my NetBIOS cache is on my machine, on my computer? Yes?
Space
Space what?
C.
CP?
C.
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 All right, I'll take your word for it.
It says.
What about NetStat? What's that going to do for me? Quinn?
displays active TCP and UDP.
It displays active connections. Okay? When you do netstat, it tells you not only an IP address and maybe a host name of a device, but it also has a colon at the end of the device with a number. What is that number after the colon? Yes, Larry?
Port.
It's the port. So that's the port that's connected to your computer or your computer is connected to. Okay? Here's an example of the output of just typing netstat by itself. So this computer that has run netstat is connected to all those different devices with all of those different protocols. A lot of them, don't freak out when you see this, a lot of them are required just for, communicating on the network in the background. However, if you're troubleshooting a specific problem on the network and you can't figure out what's going on, then netstat can come in handy. Nslookup, where do we use that? With what type of a server typically do we use Nslookup? Caitlin, what type of server do we use Nslookup? DNS server. DNS server is used for what, Jordan Powering? A DNS server is used for what? You know this. Huh? Johnny, what's DNS used for? Used for resolving? Not assigning, that's DHCP. Mike Lieber, DNS is used for resolving. Oh, come on, everybody. DNS is used for resolving what to what? Yes?
I was going to say IP addresses, but
Resolving what to what? That's part of it. Caitlin? IP addresses to host names and host names to IP addresses. All of that is applied. Normally we use host names and IP addresses because that's what we do most of the time, but a DNS server also resolves IP addresses to host names. Why do I care? Why do you care? Yes.
I'm trying to ping the website.
Trying to connect to a website. DNS better be working. Trying to communicate with any other device in today's networks or in today's modern networks. You better have DNS working. 90% of the problems with network connectivity that I have seen, 91% because it sounds more accurate, 91% of network problems are due to DNS issues. So if you don't even know what it does, you're hurting. Understand, DNS resolves host names to IP addresses to host names. We use Nslookup to troubleshoot DNS servers. Not very often, but we do. An Nslookup command, pay attention to this, Nslookup command will query or interrogate or connect to a DNS server and tell you what records are listed on that DNS server. FTP, what do we use that for? Text.
We use FTP for moving large files.
Moving large files. Just yesterday morning, I used FTP. I connected to a storage area network. I wanted to upgrade the firmware on it. And was it the firmware? No, it wasn't the firmware, it was something else. I used the FTP command to connect to it, moved a big file. Oh, I know it was. I was running diagnostics on the SAN. Running diagnostics on it. So I connected to it with FTP and copied the diagnostic files from that machine to my local machine, then I emailed them off to Dell so they could take a look at the diagnostics. So FTP, we transfer files. Why is FTP dangerous on the internet? Outstanding. Yes?
It's not secure.
It is not secure. It sends information in clear text. So what do we use instead? What do we use instead? Quinn. Austin.
Encryption.
Encryption, and typically that's using what protocol? Not FTP, but Jill,
SFTP.
what was that?
SFTP.
SFTP. Okay. Telnet command is used to do what? Gabe, take control of a remote computer, also to test connections. Sort of like NetStat, but we actually can test connections. What is my favorite thing to do with Telnet? To test what? What kind of server? You don't have to know this, but you might remember. Yes.
Can you say email?
Huh?
Can you say
Mail server. Yes. M-A-I-L. Server. Okay? To test the connection, so you do telnet space, whatever the IP address is, or server name, space what? What is that 25 at the end down there? So it's telnet space server 01 space 25. Yes?
That's email, is it the port?
That's port for SMTP. Simple Mail Transfer Protocol, or Transport Protocol, one of them. Transfer Protocol, I think. So we use Telnet to test connections and to remote control computers. It's not the same as RDP. What's RDP? Anybody know? RDP. We haven't really talked about it. Nobody has done, we've done it, but we haven't talked about it much. Yes? Remote desktop protocol. What is the difference between that and Telnet?
That's a great question.
Huh?
So that's a great question. It's not really an application.
It is. It's a graphical application. So basically, RDP allows you to connect to a machine and basically function like you're on that machine. Gives you a console session, whereas Telnet is still a command line interface. Assuming that Telnet is open and accessible, then you can remote devices. Here's one we haven't talked about yet, but it was in the material. NetSH. Everything you can do with your network configuration in the graphical interface, you can do from the command line. If you want to assign a static IP address to a network interface, you can do it through the NetSH command. If you want to change from static to dynamic, you can do it through the NetSH command. Everything you can do. If you want to renew, you need to do that from ipconfig. If you want to enable a device, you can do it from the NetSH command. So lots of stuff that you can do on the network configuration. Where else can I do NetSH stuff on a computer? If I want to change the IP address, where do I do that? Brittany. Okay, if I want to change the IP address using a graphical interface, how would I do it? If I want to look at my IP configuration instead of using the command line, but from a graphical interface, which means a program, how would I do it? You guys don't know? Ethan, if I told you to look at your network interface, what would you do? You look at your NIC card and its configuration, what would you do? No one knows. Okay, everybody, get on your little mouse. Lower right-hand corner, you see the wireless connection, right? Right-click on that wireless connection. Right-click on that wireless connection. Go back to your desktop. Did you right-click? Jessica, listen to my instructions. Go back, desktop. Right-click on that wireless connection. Right-click on that wireless connection. Go back, go back. See the little thing? Right-click. There you go. Open Network and Sharing Center. Change adapter settings. Then you can change everything you need to change. Whether it's the client, whether it's the adapter, you can update your drivers, you can do all kinds of exciting things. You can lose your connections, you can disable the connection. Lots of exciting stuff. You can do all of that using the NetSH command. Here's one for you. You better know this. The route command. What do we use that for, Zach?
Like the first page of the round table?
I want to see what the routing table is on that computer. What's another thing we can do with it? Miguel, what can we do with the route command that allows us to connect to a network that we may not know about? That's kind of a tough question. What else can we do with the route command? What did you do in the last chapter with the route command? Very good. We can add or delete static routes. So if I want to get to a network that I don't know where it's at normally, it's not on my network, I can tell my computer where to go to find that network. So route add, route delete, route print, know those three at least. Okay, and the route print command, which you see up there, I know it's tough to see. But if you go to route print, normally the first entry in your routing table is for the network 0000. What is that, Larry?
That is the route of last resort.
The route of last resort. And what that's telling you is if you don't know where to get to the network, it's going to send it to the 00, or if your computer doesn't, it's going to send it to the 000 network. And what is that gateway column? What's that telling you? What's the gateway column? Michael? Josh? Whatever your default gateway is, that's what it is. That's exactly what it is. And I know you're laughing because it's that simple. It's that easy. Anybody should have known that. Anybody. What's the last column? Interface. Or the second to last column? Interface. What's that one, Jordan? In that routing table, what's it telling you? I can't hear you, Jordan. Which network interface, right? So if you have more than one network interface on your computer, that's the one that needs to go out. And all of you have multiple network interfaces on your computers, right? Describe them to me. What are they?
What was the question again? You said network interfaces, right? So there's one right here,
Yes.
and there's one.
And what kind of interface is that?
Like the LAN,
What's it called? The one right
like
there.
the Ethernet port.
Ethernet port.
Ethernet port. Then there's one on the motherboard.
And what is that?
Wireless.
Very good. Well, that was close.
Yeah,
That was close. So wireless, every one of you have a wireless connection and an Ethernet port on it. Both of those are represented in your route print command. We've gone through all this. The idea behind routing is to make connections to remote networks. Your routing table tells your computer if, it actually tells it a lot of stuff. It tells it, here's the definition of your network, right? So it compares the subnet mask to the IP address. It tells you what your network address is. And if you need to get to a device, you either send it to your own network, or if you need to send it to a remote network, you need to send it here or whatever is in the routing table. Okay? If you don't know where a network is on the destination, where does your computer send it? Gabe. What's that?
The last resort,
Route of last resort. What's another name for that, Gabe?
default gateway.
Default gateway. What's another? What is the default gateway? Is typically a what kind of device? Gosh, you were on a roll. Come on, you know this. What is a default gateway? Is it
Passing
a?
a router.
Very good. See, you knew it and you didn't even know it. Something like that. It's a router. 3 in a row. Outstanding. Net command. Yeah. Here's the only place you're going to use this. Actually, no. There are multiple places. The net command is kind of a generic command. We use it for a lot of different things. We need to find out what the network time is. If we want to stop a network connection or start a network connection, we'll use the net command. Not used a lot, but occasionally. Are there any questions on the material we covered here? You'll notice that in your slides, maybe you have noticed, maybe you haven't noticed, your slides have the wrong summary page. Slides have the summary talking about printing or some crap like that. Although it's important, disregard it. Questions? No questions about this chapter? Truly. All right, after break, you two will take the quiz. The rest of you will back and study for the test that we'll take on Tuesday when we come back. Will you turn that off, please? Take it over? Are you gonna take it now?
Well, we could
Welcome to take a break.
do it next week.